so we're good where we are right
I'm
now.
not. I'm not. I mean, company's busy, but man, oh man. Working from.
So we have our quorum? Oh, dude, echoes on it.
What you mean, you? I mean, I'm getting a lot of stuff.
I gotta be more serious, I guess. I'm kidding around.
It's a shame. I'm not called into a review or a meeting. It's not like I have a task. You know, I usually do reviews. And so if nobody has a design review that they're going over, I'm not just sitting there. What's Mikey do? Mikey's, you know, we bought a house in Simsbury. And
Yeah.
his fiance, engaged.
Yeah,
Hold it down.
Carrie, do we have to wait for IT or something to have the system on?
Say girl, he went to the province. He's busy, so gotta wait.
On TV, so which is better, my left profile, or my right profile?
Yeah. Straight up. No, he's with, Frito-Lay now.
Yes.
So he's doing business there.
Yeah, hit the button there.
He likes it better. He's doing a pretty decent job as well. That's what I told him. I gotta reach out to Dave, because
Yeah, that's a nice Yeti.
Michael's looking for, you know,
They gave it to me as a gift for being a high school coach.
they liked him, and they were looking at.
My son's, his goal is to have every color of Yeti made.
So.
I know. Thank you, Erica. So I'd like to call the June 9th, 2021 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting to order. Please take the roll call. Carrie?
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here?
Here.
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 Okay, the chair would be open to a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion's been made. Is a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. We'd like to invite any public for public input. Is there any public input here? Seeing none, we will move on to report of council liaison. Erica, please.
Thank you. I just want to thank everyone for all the work on the master plan. Everyone was very impressed with all the work that went into that. I know, Carrie, you did a lot of work on it, as well as thank you for Toby coming and presenting it, as well as Molly and John. So really thank you for all of that. And I know it was very thorough and just so well put together. So thank you. I don't really have any other items to report unless you had any specific questions for me.
Any questions for Erica? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Art Aducci, Board of Education?
Nope.
Right here. Okay, moving on. Special reports, tasks? Oh, thank you. Oh. Thank you. Whoa. Any special reports, tasks? Anyone? Moving on. Report of Open Space Task Force, George?
Yeah, we didn't have a meeting this month.
No meeting, okay. Report of Parks and Recreation from Molly Keys.
Awesome. All right, so we do have the report of the Parks and Rec Director within our packets. Basically, as of May 19th, we have our newest COVID-19 restrictions, which is that there are not really any restrictions anymore in terms of programming and capacity. So that means that all business sector rules were previously enacted. They have now been lifted, except for our mask requirements. So that really does change what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be kind of rolling back into our traditional programming. In terms of mask requirements, vaccinated residents are not required to wear masks, while unvaccinated residents must wear masks when they're outside, is what we're kind of going with right now. And basically, in terms of the town of South Windsor, we're currently requiring all staff and residents when they're in our town buildings to wear masks. So whenever they're in the Parks and Rec building, they're currently wearing their masks. And we're kind of trying to practice social distancing when possible still. So our yoga classes are all spread out. We're really trying to make sure that everyone is safe and they feel comfortable coming back to our programs and to our building. In terms of camp, that's also forever changing. Guidelines have been changing pretty much weekly. We're kind of just rolling with it. We're still having staff and youth wear masks when they're inside, and then they can remove masks if they're socially distanced outside if they are vaccinated for staffing. However, we don't have cohorts anymore, so kids do not have to be only with their one group throughout the day. They can kind of mix more so together, and they can all be at the pool now. So mainly everything is lifted. In terms of all of our events, we're going back to our traditional events. So we are doing our concert series in a normal manner again at Evergreen Walk, and it's going to be, masks are highly suggested but not required, and we're gonna see what happens. We're really excited for that. In terms of our master plan, we were working on the Crosstown Trail still. John, Dave, Jenny Hole, Jeff Folger, and I met with Kevin. We walked the first part of the Crosstown Trail. It started at Clark Street and ended around Priest Farm on Sullivan Ave. And then we will be walking the second half of it shortly after. And we're going to be presenting in July kind of our conceptual alignment to the South Windsor Walks and Wheelway. So that's our piece on that. And then in terms of the showmobile, we were supposed to have that in for our first concert series, which was on June 24th. However, due to a delay in manufacturing and labor, they are now saying that we're not going to have it shipped to us until June 23rd, June 24th. So that kind of puts us behind on our timeline for that. And then we are finalizing our RFPs for our last two pieces of our capital projects for 2020, 2021. And then, as mentioned previously, for 2021, 2022, the tennis courts for pickleball and deck hockey have been approved for $250,000. Apparently it's $350,000, sorry. Thought it was $250,000. Yeah. And then John, Dave, and I have been out and we've talked with the pickleball players and we've gotten some other public input, and we're looking around at the designs of the court currently, so that way we can start our project for that. I'll have John give an update in a minute. I'll kind of just finish talking. So for camp, we have an amended summer camp program this summer. However, we currently have around 2,127 registrations for the summer, which is really exciting. Our preseason starts on June 17th because some of the kids will be out of school, and then our full camp will start June 28th. So that is when we'll be starting our summer season. We have some availability throughout the summer for some of our camps, but for example, our science camp is full, and our specialty camps, we only have 9 spots left for the summer. So a lot of our camps have been filling up. And then in terms of our summer programs, we have 2,740 registrations, which is a 216% decrease from 2019, as we had about 5,278 registrations. However, it is only early June, so we're hopeful that we will see an increase in registrations especially with swim lessons just opening up. So we had swim lessons open up today for our season. So VMP opened up on Saturday, May 29th, and we're doing preseason right now. And then we will have our full normal swim schedule the week of June 21st. We have had, an incredibly tough time recruiting lifeguards and swim instructors this year. It's actually kind of a shortage that's been going on in terms of New England as well. So they're having a really hard time retaining lifeguards, and a lot of city pools have had to shut down or, reduce hours due to that. And we are actually going to be running at full capacity, and we're going to be able to maintain our hours and our swim lessons. So I'm giving huge kudos to Nancy, as she's done a really awesome job with recruiting and hiring and onboarding them. The South Windsor Farmers Market, if any of you have had the chance to come, it's been a great hit so far, and we're only growing as the summer is going on. So we started with about 25 vendors, and our market manager has secured a few more vendors for the summer, along with more entertainment and a couple more food trucks. And then thanks to the South Windsor Moms Club, we were actually given a donation of $2,000 to roll out a educational program for youth called The Power of Produce. So we will be starting that program on the last market in June. So we're excited for that addition to the farmers market. And, this summer, with it being our first one, we're really hoping to increase engagement at it, as well as expand it for the future summers to do more educational offerings for the youth and make it a spot for the whole family. And then pretty much we're working on our website. We're always trying to figure out more ways to be consistent with our brand, and we're currently working on doing more pictures and footage for our parks and facilities. So that's kind of our piece on marketing. And then in terms of the last two big pieces, we have hired an assistant parks and recreation director. Her name is Jennifer Filer, and she will begin working for the department on June 30th. So she's coming to us from the town of Suffield most recently, and she has over 15 years of recreation experience. We're really excited to have her join our team at the end of June. And for budget, we are 117.10% for our adjusted goal for the fiscal year. So our finances are currently at a revenue of a little over $1 million, and our budget was $857,000. So we're sitting in a decent spot to end the fiscal year. And then John, do you want to give a parks update?
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just to let you know what the Parks Department's doing. We have a crew of 12 with one part-time groundskeeper and usually 2 summer help. We've had a struggle finding summer help this year. We actually have only 1 this year. We've had an ad in the paper for quite some time with no real luck. So if someone's over 18 and would like to apply for a job, a little quick plug there. But we've gotten the baseball fields ready. One of the challenges that we face is the torrential downpours we've been getting the last couple days. The crews get the fields all ready for playoffs, and then we have to cancel the games. The road to the farmers market was completed in-house by the Parks Department. We've also completed the road with some drainage on the backside of Troy Road for the Connecticut Valley Tobacco Club, because they're going to have the Flyers Club is going to start flying out of the John J. Mitchell Rye Street, which is formerly known as the Barton property. The crew continues to get ready for all the events that are coming up. We are going to start looking to strip the land over, not strip the land, that's not a good term, to take off the topsoil over at 1355 Ellington Road to start the parking lot over there for additional parking to Wapping Park. And we've also repaired some of the trail areas there that the house that was there before had a small crossing across the stream. We've repaired that, so now we can enter Wapping Park from that area of town now. It'll mimic the Clark Street parking lot that's there with the large wood guardrail on 2 sides with one open side. And that's about it for now.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, John. Any questions of the director or John?
I just wanted to commend John and his team in regard to the farmers market. I went there last weekend and it was It's a nice setup. I will say, I'm a little bit embarrassed that I'm part of Parks and Rec Commission, and I forgot it was back there. So I went to the original site, and I sat there for a while going, oh, geez, I don't know where it is. I saw the sign, but I still was confused until I got there. I said, oh, God, I can't believe I did that. But I don't know if there's a better sign. There might be other people who, something, it said 900 feet, but again, it came back to me and I went, but people out of town I'm sure there's a lot of people out of town who come to it. I don't know if there's a different sign we should say, I don't know how, but pointing, an arrow go down, or, like I said, here I am on the Parks and Rec Commission. I forgot, and it took me a little bit to remember that it was back there. But it was very nice, so I commend your team.
We should include that in the new tour, when we do a tour of the parks again, which is fun. Any other questions? Any other comments?
I had a question for John, I think. Eli Terry, the fields, is there any update on the timeline for those to be completed?
Eli Terry, the new school?
Yes.
Yes, I know the contractor has hydro-seeded it already, so that's gonna start to grow. Well, actually, probably has already, but I'm gonna guess that if we can get on that by late fall, we'll be lucky.
John, is there any update on the artificial turf at the high school with the manufacturer and all that sort of?
We did have to temporarily close the artificial turf. All the seams have been repaired to the field. We have a slight settlement issue on the sides of the field, and we've talked to a contractor about fixing that, and also possibly at the D zones or the end zones, the carpet is a little shy of the D zone, so we have to replace some carpet along the side of the field anyway. So we're actually thinking about changing the color on the sidelines and going to the edge of the soccer line. And then, because if we ever get synthetic grass, it'll never match what's on that field now. So the sideline grass will match the back, so any repairs that we have to make, we'll have plenty of extra material, and we can also get rid of the slight depression that the field has now between the field itself and the track edge, and that'll make that safe. And then we have to actually put some infill in, because when the field was originally built, it was such a new field with such a new design of infill that no one really knew how high to bring the infill up on the grass itself. And we found just recently that we're probably about a ½ inch too low, and we need to bring up the infill so we have much more infill. But the good news is, because of the Brock padding that's underneath it, the G-Shock, which is a concussion protocol, has held up very well. So we've not had any issues with this as far as testing goes for G-Shock. We've had no issues with that at all, so that's a good thing.
Thank you.
I just have a question for Molly, maybe Erica, you might know also, was with the recent stimulus, is there any kind of thoughts about money that might be flowing down from the state to us, to Parks and Rec?
We will be meeting in terms of the town about that. I have a meeting for that tomorrow. There's certain programs and projects that may qualify for it. We just need a little bit more clarification on what we could get reimbursed or what may qualify in terms of our recreational opportunities. So more to come on that.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question about the farmer's market. I was curious if there was any need for volunteers for that, and if so, how can people offer their help with that?
Yeah, so we actually are always looking for volunteers for that, especially for the actual time of the market and then right after the market to help clean up and kind of connect with the community members. So if you are interested, if anyone's interested in volunteering, you can contact our recreation office and we will set you up with our market manager, Jenny, and she will kind of give you the options for what our volunteer roles are.
Okay, and will you accept high school students for volunteering?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
wonderful.
we do. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, moving on to discussion topics, the future home in South Windsor Parks and Rec Department. As you know, last month we talked about possibly drafting a letter, making an offer for the LA Fitness building. It turns out that Esport, the parent company, decided to rescue them and keep that. So we need to be thinking of options of what we can do with the Parks and Rec when and if the eventuality comes that the Board of Ed asks us to leave where we are. So is there anything, it's really the first I ever even thought of them suggesting we leave Wapping. Has there been any rumors or talks made about that?
There's nothing official at this time. You know, we have to look at the trends and what students will be coming in the future years, and if there is a need to take over our space. You know, it's a hope that we would have a plan B and a plan C in case that does happen. So, in terms of either looking for another location for us or, you know, building something from the ground up that's a hub for the community. So those are both options that are at least in our mind, and as it is a little unsettling to know that we could be without a home base sooner than later. So
Could we reach out and have a conversation with Dr. Carter and just get a feel for the temperature of things?
I'm sure we can, and we've had some discussions, but I think Dr. Carter's issue is that they're not really sure where they are right now. You know, we have the new school, Pleasant Valley is going to start to be built. I'm not sure if they have, they're still questioning enrollment numbers, whether they're going to continue to climb. You know, you have Old Orchard Hill School, which it could get unmothballed for one of the grades or two. I don't think they really have a good grasp on what's exactly, I'm sure they have a fairly good grasp, but they probably have nothing that's in stone that they can guarantee or come up with a definite plan right now.
Okay, thank you. I just think it's very ambitious for us to think about a new place when, if I were a citizen, which I am, I'd be saying, well, reuse something else. I mean, let's not go building crazy because we've had so many RFPs, all these new schools. I think we owe the due diligence to see what resources are available to use before we get to the pie in the sky, let's build our own place.
right.
It's just my thoughts. So if we talk about new options, that would be, I would like that to be our first approach, is to what is already here that can be used as opposed to, I mean, and I doubt seriously it's going to be, oh, you've got a month to leave.
Right. Yep.
'Cause
We think that we have at least, if we were given a time, it'd be a couple year time frame.
Yeah. Is there any other business, Erica?
I just was going to ask, because I'm hearing for people that they're having a hard time hearing you, so I apologize, but I know it feels awkward, but if you could try to just get close to the mic when you talk, because it is being broadcast, so as much as possible. Thank you.
Okay.
And just the same information that John said as far as the schools, I think there's just a lot up in the air as far as what the decisions will be. The enrollments are constantly changing. They're constantly reaching out to find out what that looks like for the future. I think it probably was thrown in a little bit of a curveball too this previous year because of COVID. Some class sizes got adjusted because some parents actually held back kids from starting kindergarten. So I think it'll be interesting to see in the next couple of years what that looks like. And there will always be a home for Park and Rec, I mean, wherever it is. And I don't know that we're looking to build a new building. I think it probably would be, like John said, you know, maybe looking at Orchard Hill. So I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm not saying that officially, but.
If the board's okay with it, I will reach out to Art, our liaison to the board, and see if he can find out some stuff for us. Thank you.
Toby, can I ask a question about Wapping?
Certainly.
How much of that building presently is used for the rec department? And obviously, you have given up space from where we started. I was here when we took that building and intended to use all of it. And from day one, I think it has deteriorated to a portion-controlled building at this point. What would you say the percentage?
I would say the percentage is probably about 2/3. We share the building with building maintenance also, and then the high school has their culinary class, and then there's another classroom. Yeah, I would say about 2/3 overall.
Is ours.
Yes.
Okay. Chair recognizes Erica.
Sorry. I was going to suggest that you actually start a conversation with the town manager potentially, because the Park and Rec is considered a town department. And although we are leasing the space from the schools, it would be the town that ultimately would decide where the Park and Rec department would go.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other business? Yes.
I have a completely unrelated question. As a scout leader, I've been having discussions with other scout leaders. One about building use for our meetings for next year. So if we could have just maybe an update on, how that will go. But we've also been discussing how nice it would be to have a place to actually tent camp in town. And I don't know, this may have a historical background that I'm not aware of, but I'm just curious if this has been brought up as a possibility. I'm sure there's insurance and liability and all of that, but I was just curious.
Yeah, in terms of building use, we are actually open for community groups to come in and utilize the space. And we can take your reservations anytime at the front desk. And basically, we have the same classrooms that we had prior to COVID available for the community groups every night. And we'll continue to do that from here on out. We just ask for masks right now. That's our biggest piece. And then in terms of camping, I think that's going to be a part question. However, I think that we have done like a family camp out in the past at Rye Street. So there's probably a possibility that we could look into that and just figure out how we can collaborate and make it happen.
That would be great. Thanks.
I have a question, if we're near the end here. I was just wondering, Erica, is there any conversation at the council? I apologize, I didn't do it during your time, but any conversation about when masks might not be needed at this table?
I don't think that specific answer has been broached, but I do know that a lot of the factors go down to numbers and CDC guidelines. So I think those are probably the main things to watch for that to be the next step.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of guidance where town and government offices are still encouraged to have mask wearing. So I think it's going to come from probably the federal, the CDC or state guidelines.
Okay, thank you. I know that I work for RTX, and we just this Monday, as long as you self-declare and show that you've been vaccinated, we've removed masks. And so I was just wondering if we're following, and I'm sure they're following CDC. I was just wondering if the town was looking at stuff like that.
I don't have the specific answer for that, but I can try to find out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other business before Parks and Rec?
I'd like to go back and ask a question about the CIP plan. It was on the permanent storage building. I know we've had the 100,000 approved for the design only. Do we have any ballpark on the actual construction phase, or how much at all? Because I know when we talked about it before, it was a little up in the air.
Yeah, the $100,000 is for an engineering design and build. It was going to be originally it really shouldn't be called just a storage building, because it's not. It's going to house the building maintenance department, their equipment, some offices also in there, and the other half will be, the other 2/3 will be a storage facility for the Parks Department and their equipment, because we pay an off-site storage fee now. But as far as a total ballpark, I don't think they've got anything like that, even close to that yet. I don't believe it's even gone out for a build yet.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'd take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8 o'clock. John, turn off the mic now.